when you're performing, reading an audience, it's an interesting thing, because the first part of it is you get a visual. So if I see only octogenarians in the audience, I could pretty much be sure that if I play anything too far out too soon, I'm going to lose them, which you don't want to do. So the visual thing comes first. The other part of it, of course, is if you're playing a job and it's your record release, of course you're expected to play material from your recording. So it's a combination of things. But it's interesting to see how people react. And if you get them early on, and if they're the kind of crowd that wants to hear It Had to Be You or some old standard, and you know, which is a perfectly good song, if you give them some of that, and then you can say, hey, we're going to take a little journey here. Here's an original composition, and I hope you like it, and blah, blah, blah. And as long as you don't force yourself upon them, and you can draw them in, and sometimes it requires explaining what you've done, and they'll get it. And I think often musicians forget that it's entertainment. People really do have to like it beyond your emotional expression and your technical prowess and whatever you're trying to show them. They have to like it. They have to enjoy it and walk out of there saying, hey, that was worth the cover charge. I have a record out now. It's called Future Day. It's on the Soundbrush label. And I'm starting to write now my second one, which I'm not going to tell you the title of it because I don't want to give it away. Future Day actually features Bob Shepard, who's here on this cruise, Joe Locke, great vibes player, Joe LaBarbera, who's also on this cruise on drums, Tom Rainier, and Jeremy Pelt, who's a wonderful trumpet player. And the next recording, I'm not sure of the personnel. If I can get at least half of those guys, I'll be happy. That record was a recording of jazz the way I like it. And it isn't necessarily all about the bass. I did some standards, and I have some original compositions, and I invited each guy in the band to bring a song. And it isn't, even my father said, well, it doesn't seem like you have enough, it's not about you enough. And I said, it's about music. And you know, the next one maybe will be a little more bass oriented. But I'm very happy with the way it came out, and it was well received and well reviewed. So no complaints. That's a tricky question as to whether the audience for jazz is growing or shrinking, because the definition of jazz has changed. And it's hard to tell. I remember there were jazz festivals that we used to play all the time with jazz groups. And at some point, I started seeing R&B bands that I always felt like, I mean, great bands that I loved, but I was surprised to see them performing immediately after or before Keith Jarrett or Kenny Barron's trio, or something was changing. I think it might have had to do with the advent of smooth jazz, which those guys kind of cover pop songs in a jazzy way, but they still had R&B grooves underneath. I hate to say this, but I kind of feel like the real jazz audience is not growing. And a lot of it has to do with our lack of education. They don't fund the arts like they used to. Closed down the jazz stations. And it's disappointing, especially in America, because it sounds corny to say it, but I do think that jazz music does reflect part of what America really is, which is a combination of all kinds of things. I mean, you have European harmony, African rhythm. It's really kind of special, and we should treasure it more. And unfortunately, we just don't. And the market has diminished. And some of it is the musician's fault as well, I have to say. You know, some guys don't make great choices about connecting with an audience. I think that's one of the things that was so special about Dizzy and Paquito. You know, they used to clown around, sure, and it was very entertaining. But at the same time, they would play incredible music and people would get it. And they knew how to generate excitement in the performance. And people would walk out saying, wow, that was a trip. It was really special. And it'd take them a while and they realized, hey, they heard swing, they heard samba, they heard bossa nova, they heard tango, they heard Venezuelan music, they heard cha-cha-cha, all in an hour. So it was special. I think that's really educational, that kind of stuff. And years ago, I used to travel with the Lincoln Center, had an outreach program, and a wonderful drummer named Louis Nash had a band, and we would go around to the schools with his group and perform. And that stopped. And I thought, wow, that's a shame, because it was a chance to really capture a young audience and have them hear what it is that jazz musicians do and understand why and how it works and its importance, and that it can be really entertaining and fun. Hi, this is David Finck. For more videos, go to JazzTimes.com.